This is a GRDC podcast.
Joining us today is Calingiri legume grower John Young and also Glen Reithmuller, who is from DPIRD in WA, and they're going to chat to us about legume harvestability. It is a big question for legume growers generally. So John, as a grower and a GRDC panel member as well, I understand, can you tell me how you're tracking and in choosing legumes to go down that path?
Right, we chose legumes because we were very concerned about the sustainability of our continuous cropping program. So we were very dominant wheat and canola, and we could see that we needed to introduce a legume to control weeds, get a bit of diversity, control disease, and also hopefully make a more robust cropping system. So that's the reason we have chosen lentils.
So other legumes you've grown here as well that you might have departed ways with?
Yeah, we haven't really departed ways with any. We're choosing legumes to suit soil types. So we have trialled field peas, lentils, which we've got here, obviously chickpeas and lupins, and we are happy with all of them on various soil types. But we have found the adaptability of lentils to be better than expected, so we're using those now probably for 80% of our legumes.
Okay, now it's harvest time. You're hopping around like a grasshopper here today because you're liking what you're seeing, aren't you? Can you tell us what you're seeing that you're liking so much?
Yeah, we're actually harvesting now. You can see it in the background, and they're picking up or harvesting better than we expected, so that's a real positive. And the yield is also very good, probably better than expected. We're probably hovering in the low twos, or 2 or 2.2 tonnes to the hectare, which is really, really encouraging. We've had 320 mil growing season rainfall, so it's been a really perfect rainfall or a perfect season for growing legumes. We're hoping to get, let's say, about 7 or 8 kilograms per millimetre, and we're hoping that we can continue with that going forward.
Okay. Now, just a few moments ago, with Glen, you put some quadrants down. What were you looking for, and can you tell us about that?
Well, I got the driver to back off to get an assessment of the losses at the front, because they've done the drop tray test, which is great to see you've done that, but that's only measuring the losses through the machine. What we need to find is what is actually not going into the front, which is usually the biggest problem with pulses,
sure,
and particularly with lupins. But here, I got the guys to put some quadrats down. He backed off, left a bare area so there was no spread through the harvester, backed off and put some quadrats down, and for every 33 seeds in that 1/10 of a square metre is about 100 kilos per hectare. They found 3 seeds.
Ooh.
That's 10
Wow.
kilos. I said, go back and count it again. You didn't get it right, but they said, no, we were struggling. So I'm impressed.
So are you impressed because of the machinery setup that John and his team have assembled here?
Yes, this modern adjustment system and the less stress on the driver coming through there was just amazing. So they can keep that height really low and getting all that crop in, because I was expecting to have at least some losses on the ground, which was just impressive that there wasn't.
Because yield loss is around 10 to 15% usually, is that about right?
Well, perhaps for lupins it's that high. But other chickpeas, we generally harvest most of those as well, unless you get hail like we had the other day at Meriden.
Right.
So just to follow up on Glen's point, we're using a 40-foot fixed or rigid vario front with a table auger along the entire length of the front, and what's it called, Glen? Retractable fingers along the length of the auger as well. No crop lifters, it's all conventional, but it does have ground sensing technology, and we've got that on the feeder house so that it senses the pressure of the ground, and then it will lift the front up and down as it goes.
Okay,
Yep.
The lentils are very low hanging fruit, if you like, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. Well, you've got to cut them short, I guess.
Yeah, so we're the harvester teeth or the knife guards are probably running about 50 or 60 millimetres off the ground. So
now, John, I'm impressed with the levelness of the paddock. So you must have had to roll this, did you?
So this was rolled. So we've found that paddock preparation and paddock choice when growing lentils or legumes that are going to be harvested close to the ground is of the utmost importance. So we thoroughly pick every hectare of the paddock for rocks. and then we roll it with a heavy, smooth roller.
A steel roller?
A steel roller,
Yeah.
smooth steel roller. We weighted ours this year, so we filled it with water.
Right.
The lentils can be rolled at any stage. They're very, very flexible, so it's not a difficult job to get your timing right. You do want the ground to be somewhat moist so that you can squash any small rocks or sticks back into the soil. And we have picked up some rocks, but so far it's been very minimal.
And for growers generally, if they're looking at introducing legumes into their farming systems, is there an upfront investment in that machinery improvement or the technology that's required to assist it? I mean, is there an upfront cost there for growers?
Can I answer this one?
Yeah,
Glen? I don't think so, Deb. I think that the barriers to that are minimal. You can certainly hire a smooth steel roller from someone. There are many around the wheat belt, and there's many to dry hire. And that smooth steel roller is the only bit of equipment that growers won't have in their arsenal that they normally use. It's a conventional header front, it's a conventional seeder, so there's nothing there that's out of the ordinary.
Okay. Glen, specifically, is there anything crucial to understand around setup speed or the harvest conditions to maximise harvestability?
Yeah, normally when we were doing lentil harvesting trials years ago, I just always desiccate on a Tuesday. Now, the reason you desiccate is two things: to kill any weeds, but mainly to get the lentils to ripen evenly. Sometimes you'll get a green spot in the paddock. Desiccating with dicot was the only registered chemical we had for that, and it works quicker. If you use Roundup, it won't take it in because the plant's not growing. So generally desiccate with dicot, then about between 5 and 10 days later, depending on the weather, we get into harvest. And it's so much easier when the crop is all nice and even, feeds in so much better, and you have less troubles at all.
And just we're diverting a little bit, but onto on-farm storage, and we saw a pretty impressive example of where you're at with that today, John.
Yeah, I think sometimes pulses, the marketing can be a bit of a hurdle for growers to know how to market or to go. So we have made the decision to put some on-farm storage in to make our marketing options a bit more open, and we're currently delivering lentils into that system at the moment. Yeah.
Do you have aeration on your silos or not?
No, we don't have. We have the ability to fit it if we wanted, but lentils, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, are quite easy to store and don't require aeration. So the percentage moisture of these ones we're harvesting today is about 8.5 to 9%, and we're allowed up to 14. So I think they're quite easy to store.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
So look, in closing, do you? And you've told me you've been around this region for a few decades, actually, Glen. Good on you.
43 years and 6 months. No, and 2 days. 1 month.
There you go. Who's counting?
Who's counting? Yeah.
But from your perspective, do you have any advice generally from what you see with with more growers embracing legumes into their farming systems, and perhaps to encourage others to perhaps consider it at least?
Yeah, I'm impressed with the fact that we've got some growers way out at Southern Cross having a crack at lentils. And I mean, years ago when I did all the lentil work with Sadiq, the yields at Meriden weren't that impressive, and there's a lot of problems we had back then, and the varieties weren't what we have now. But for the young guys out there that are going to have a crack, and they're growing them quite well, and provided you get the rainfall, of course, and not wet feet, they seem to be a much better option than they used to be anyway, about years ago.
Sure. And any final advice from your position?
I think I can just add to what Glen said then, and I think Western Australia as a whole has been applying a lot of lime across the state, and I think we have raised the pH of our sort of slightly acid soils in the wheat belt, and that, along with amelioration, has opened up a bit of a window for us to try legumes again and to hopefully be successful. So I think the opportunity is definitely there for the growers that have invested in their soils to give lentils another go.
So you put
or to give legumes another go.
I was going to say, in the past, lentils in particular will always have to be high pH, but you've
correct.
proven here this is only like 6.5 or so.
This is 5.5 to 6.
Yeah, 6.
And also on
That's
that point,
impressive.
we have, or GRDC has developed acid strains of rhizobium, which also help in growing legumes on slightly, what you would normally call slightly acid soils.
Yep,
So
yep.
they've managed to lower the pH of the rhizobium by about 0.5, and that's very successful. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, great guys. Well, look, I'm hoping that we've managed to perhaps bust some myths around the constraints of legumes, because clearly here we have some fabulous success stories and advice. Machinery approach and improvements looks like it's the key to successful harvesting. Ultimately profitability too, because that's the bottom line, isn't it?
Always is. Always is. the bottom
Yeah,
line.
I think it's not only profitability, but I think it's creating a more robust farming system. And with the state largely continuously cropping now, I think it's important that we do have a legume and we have a system that is more robust than just cereal.
Excellent.
I could probably add there too about lentils. I think John Kierkegaard over in the Eastern States pointed out that lentils necessarily don't extract all the water that cereals do. So your following crop, we had a lentils in 2020 in Meriden, went 1.4 tonne. The following wheat crop went 3.5. Now part of that was extra water left behind that the lentils didn't extract that the wheat can, as well as the nitrogen fixing and the disease break. So what crop are you going to put in here next year?
This will probably be a wheat crop.
Wheat crop?
Yeah.
Yep. It'll be a burster.
Yeah.
It'll be a burster, we like that, don't we?
I like it. I'll lock that in.
Okay, now look, if you'd like more information on introducing perhaps legumes to your farming system, head to grdc.com.au. We have a 4-part series, video series coming up too, so watch out for that on all the elements of legumes in your farming system. Thanks John, thanks Glen, and I'm Deborah Bishop, and I really appreciate you listening to us today.